This is Hiroshi Ishii. He teaches at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and together with his students, he is working on the Internet of Things. Now, what is the Internet of Things? The lighting in a hotel room adjusts to ambient light. If elderly people can lead autonomous lives much longer because the necessary services are being provided. Advertisers get an indication of the attention span of people watching their commercials. It's a long list of things, and Professor Ishii is one of the great experts in this field. There is a whole generation of young designers and engineers who are doing pioneering work. They come up with things no one ever thought about. And of course, it has to work. And this is a kind of field test, which we're doing now. But I'm confident. Is it working? Not quite, but there is hope.
Die realen Anwendungen scheinen.
The real applications are limited for the time being, but very often we're not even aware of where and how machines communicate with each other. We don't even notice it. And as mobile telephony is evolving towards 5G, the Internet of Things is going to grow, not just the Internet itself, but also the possibilities users are going to have.
I see the presentation is running. Yes?
Can I get this on? I have a beautiful slides on my machine, but by some reason, the machine cannot talk to this one, to over there. Hope an expert can help.
Yes, okay. Now we're testing. Mr. Ishii, while the technicians are working on a solution, the title of your presentation is Radical Atoms.
Yes.
What does that mean?
To be radicals in a way to think about the future is very, very important. The reason I and all my friends coming here is always radical new edgy thinking coming out from Linz, Ars Electronica Center. So Ars Electronica Center is a kind of a magnet of all the intellectual philosophers, artists, or designers to think about the future, what's coming ahead of the horizon.
Yes, so radical atoms also in a sense that you combine a lot of small technologies with each other to form one big Internet of Things in the end.
Exactly. But even scaling up to the huge number of the machines talking each other, how to make them work in harmony is a big issue. How to coordinate a bunch of the intelligent machines. That's the reason Ars Electronica is taking a very important research initiative of swarm intelligence, for example.
How do you make them work in harmony? And what I would like to talk about a very important point, because that's what we are facing right now as a technical difficulty. How important is open source in all of this, you know? Standardization.
Oh, great.
And Sieg. Mr. Ishii, the stage is yours.
Sure. Thank you. Vielen Dank. Guten Morgen. Yeah. Guten Morgen. Ich heiße Hiroshi Ishii. Ich freue mich, Sie kennenzulernen. That's all I can remember. The most important message is why we are here. So many international artists, designers, and philosophers all come here every year. Why? Because Ars Electronica. You guys have a jewel, amazing magnet, attracts so many people. Because first, idea colliding. So many people bring different ideas. Then Gerfried Stocker orchestrate, putting a very controversial, deep theme like artificial intelligence. Then everybody start having a discussion. Then that leads to the emergence of the new opportunities, new possibility. Then new discipline, transcending, academically, artistically. That's the reason. It's amazing intellectual power to attract all the great peoples and also audience. I really appreciate that I can come back here because simply transdisciplinary. You can really learn from different arts, design, philosophy, or even priest do the religion stuff. That's extremely inspiring. Finding opportunity in conflict between disciplines, like art science, breaking down on old paradigm to create new archetype. Ars Electronica is actually the leaders creating a new archetype. And also the German word Aufheben might be closest if there's a conflict of two different ideas to resolve, to go higher level. So Aufheben is happening. So let me start from this example of art science or music and technology. We are very much interested to rethink about the experience of listening music beyond iPod. Sound, please. Music is not a vibration of air to stimulate your ear. Even before musician hit first key, music has already started. Her breathing, her movement, how to convey all the emotional experiences. Also, you can have eternal life in piano. Your grandma could be concert pianist, but she can come down to the piano, then play with grandchildren. So we can really enrich the meaning of the life or appreciating art using those new ideas. Also, we went to Milan to show one of the new piece called Transform to stimulate. This is one of the first prototype of radical atoms. So now you see red ball dancing. Red ball is ancient old materials. It's frozen. No digital consciousness, no intelligence in it. White pins are new material called radical atoms. They dance. They move based on the data or computation or sensor inputs. But the most important, this is a new clay for the sculptor. And also this material can dance with old generation of red balls. So imagine now you are sitting on the solid floor, chair, table, but every material can start dancing. That dramatically changes the way people design the environment and also experience. So important thing is collision of different ideas. In Milano, we experiment beauty of the design of static object and dynamic aesthetics of the technologies, or static, dynamic, or atoms, bits. Always making a collision of different ideas, we can come up with a lot of interesting ideas. So my research is about the human-computer interaction starting from graphical user interface, tangible to radical atoms. But always the museum or symposium or forum, festival like this became a center. In 2000, I had the first big exhibition in ICC in Japan, but we're so lucky. Who knows this building? Who have been in this building? This is our origin. Now it's much more shiny, bigger stuff. But this is the origin of Ars Electronica centers, where we had the first exhibition of Get in Touch. That's the tangible exhibitions. But Gerfried kindly invited our team. Then we installed a bunch of the stuff. And still some stuff are surviving and running in the Ars Electronica centers. But this is the first exposure of our HCI research to the serious artists, architects, designers, having a lot of interesting discourse. Now, really beautiful, amazing building, shining every evening. And we had another chance to bring new set of the work, radical atoms. Also, I was so fortunate last year, entire symposium took radical atoms as a banner to attract people. But the beauty is the alchemist of our time. That's such a nice theme, inclusive, but also making courage to the artist, create their own own representation. Thanks to Gerfried. So also beauty is, I can bring a bunch of students, sharing experience with the students, so important for the educations. All are so proud of having their research project running in the laboratory. So if you have a chance, it's a crossing river, Ars Electronica Center. You can see all these pieces. This is also amazing people like Christina Maurer is one of the super talented persons in the center who helped all the entropy explosions and the biologic. So now you can see a lot of those kind of the project over there. And this is a new installation that we started here. So it's the new buildings, and also you can see the new materials. But the most important thing is you can see the future. If you come to Linz, Austria, see the people and the work, then ask why, where this idea came from. So that's the beauty of a symposium. But also, Ars Electronica Center keep running till next June, I don't know, but the exhibition continue. So hope you can bring back your clients here to inspire, to stimulate, because this is a magnet. So I like all the ancient, Kepler. Kepler is one hero. Angular velocity constant rule of solar systems. And also Kepler is such a famous astronomer. So Auroral is one of the important origin. Beautiful model, it represents knowledge of solar system. But the beautiful part is a handle. This handle encourages you to jack in your body. Then using your body, you rotate all the planets. Then there's no ambiguity about causality chain. Because I move all the moon going around so that eclipse happens. Also beauty is all the people, student, teacher can come around. That's the power of the physicality. Fake 3D through 2D flat screen is not real, but the real tangible stuff make a huge difference. Let me show the few examples of the tangible bits. Ordinary transient bottles, but like a genie bottles or perfume. You can put anything you like, speech, poem, or music into any bottles. Then you can listen, enjoy. It's very different from MP3 player. It's fragile, but beautiful and emotional. So how to extend the simple interaction of physical world to digital domain is one of our dreams. This was almost 22 years old piece. But the reason I did this project is very personal. I came from Sapporo City, north part of Japan, and every morning my mom wake up. She is interested to check the weather forecast of today in front of TV. Instead of TV, I want to present these blue bottles to her. Then when she wakes up, she opens it, then she knows today is a fine day because birds singing. But she passed away in 1998. That's the reason we created these music bottles as a tribute. So also we are very much interested about being here and there. This is a classic piece called In Touch. You can rotate 3 rollers, but also remote person can also feel touch. It's like you are really manipulating, touching the same object over distance. Also another stuff is, who loves painting, oil or water? Who does painting? Good. Who has a kids who love painting? Oh yeah, I know. Kids love painting. So let me show the painting application called IoBrush, which also came to Ars Electronica 2002 or 3. Kimiko Ryokai, Stefan Marti did it. So in the era of Renaissance, painters were also color makers. they made their own pigments. So you can use a brush as a means to create a new ink, new meanings. So every stroke artists draw has a story behind it. So in the Renaissance era, painters was pigment makers. If they need a purple, perfect purple, they went to seashore to collect the seashell, purple seashells, or flowers or plants in the field, then create their own color. But because all this experience of collecting color, there's all the story behind it. So a lot of the color you can create by RGB, but this color is very special because emotional attachment. This makes this color very, very different from other stuff. So because with technology, we have to go beyond the paintings. Paintings, dead ink stuck to the surface. But now you can see teddy bear. From teddy bear, this color came from. This is very important. Now you can show the origin of the materials, like going back to supply chain. But the most amazing stuff is kids who doesn't listen to MIT professor. She came up her own interpretation of what this brush means for her. This is the moment that we as a designer artist most excited. She went far beyond to come up idea. So this is a photo in Barcelona and all the shops showing the amazing palettes to challenge to the future artists. If you experience IO-brush, you can't stop thinking, what kind of the new art piece, memory of Barcelona I may create from those photons? That's an important stimuli. Also, we do a lot of strange stuff. We are pinpoint. This might be IoT stuff. Table is now listening the hit of the ball using a microphone, but now you can augment realities. Now a bunch of the fish swimming. So it's not a zero-sum game. Pinpoint zero-sum game. It's kind of harsh. But rather than how can create new artistic experience, or even for the audience. Can I get the sound? So that is one of the, so you can really augment using intelligence, every environment, bring a new experience. Also, this is a very classic piece called Up. So
John, is our most complex, comprehensive application to date, and is again intended for professional use, this time in the field of architecture and urban planning.
He invented a new light bulb. Light bulb, not just emitting photons, but watching the real world, then compute, then send back the computational photons. Now you see shadow of this building. This is a projection. It's a digital, not the real optical shadows. But now when you move the buildings, it's follow. Also inverse clock show where the signs, so that you can really control the shadow simulation like this one. So now you can bring all these buildings tangible, so that you can really manipulate using your hands. Also, this is a soundscape we brought to 2003 to Linz, but also it's running over there, Ars Electronica Center. This is another big sandbox. We were kids playing sand for many, many times. And now this is a sandbox for the adults, for landscape designer. You can sculpt, make a beautiful scenic landscape or golf course. But the computer, no, this is water drainage. Computer capture geometry, then compute, then project back water drainage. So people know how to deal with water, rain, or erosion, or how much sunlight each slope gets. So that what trees, flowers can survive. So these are kind of tangible bits, giving a computation tangible. But one problem is all the materials, like wood or metal, is frozen, shy. So we decided to go beyond that, giving a life to these materials. So computer is amazing to render the information, but also we make a physical rendering using this shape display. So now you can see that the mountain, Austria has so many amazing, beautiful mountains, but those mountains used to be under the water million years ago. So showing all the evolution of the mountain building could be one of the very interesting. So now we are manipulating time axis. Of course, it's clear you can directly push down or bring up, but also you can send a gesture command. So we are inventing a new materials as an alchemist, then inventing a new interaction for the artist or designer to do something cool. So this is a scaled-up versions. And this is going to be one of the most watched video of telepresence. How many people have a chance to saw this video? This is called good physical telepresence. This is Dr. Daniel Reitzinger, now become professor in US, but he came from Linz. He was working in the Ars centers, and when we exhibit the sandbox, he got very inspired, and he applied to MIT Media Lab, and I admitted. Then he invented this Inform and a series of shape display. Then he came back with Inform to Ars Electronica Center. So you can really experience this future, which was invented by Dr. Daniel Reitzinger. So now you can grab all any objects, then you can make physically embodied. So you can be here and there, but physically. It's not a teleconference using video or pixels. Okay, so we also scaled up to putting 3 machines together following a form of triptych. So that is a transform that we show briefly in the beginning. But the important thing is this become a new medium of storytelling. Today, pixel animation, Hollywood, advertisement is amazing. You can do whatever to express your idea, story. But in future, I do believe those new dancing materials can be a storytelling medium. So now you see fishes are swimming on the lake. This represents nature. Then Sean Former, he's now Stanford professor, university professor, is now giving energy to the waters, then coming to the life. But also we made a story that the machine became a bit jealous about nature, so try to emulate the beauty, aesthetics of the nature by computationally. So now you see the structure coming up. This is a representation that the machine tried to test to capture the aesthetics of wave or nature. So it's a mathematical formula under the water, parametric design, but this representation is evolving. So now you see the process of all the evolution. So this is an example of storytelling, and we hope that the future designer, artist, or communicator can take advantage of these materials. Then you can sit or sleep on them. You can really feel. That's a fundamental difference. And also, we really like the metaphor, like a dance, so that in the beginning, we show the dance. Also, we are very much stimulated by the Escher. Escher's infinite like a movement or impossible structure. So Escher is always a source of inspiration. So hope we have a chance to experience the future in the arts and centers. And so I think a dance is something very important to make things dance. While you're frozen, while you're sleeping, why don't you dance? But also, levitate is another interesting challenge because we are on the ground floor and stuck on the floor because of gravity. So most important thing of the artist, we create a new question. Why you have to be bound on the ground? Of course, gravity. Why you have to obey gravity? How we can really defy gravity? Those are questions only artists ask because scientists know it's impossible. And engineer knows it's too difficult. So these are zero new materials. Imagine you can grab this material, you can put air, stay there. But also computer knows exactly where this object is. Then computer can move it. Then this becomes a new medium to explore the interstellar issue like space travel stuff. Or you can make a furniture that float in the air. So you can use a space above your head. So these are all the way to provoke your thinking. So also we have a lot of the crazy materials. Let me show the bacteria. Bio is a new digital, is an important message that Nicolas Negroponte, founder of Media said. He's also being digital, but because genetic engineering or CRISPR or synthetic biology. So now we took an idea of the new interface, skin. So now you can wear the new bio machine on the skin. So can I get the sound? So this is driven by the bacteria called Bacillus subtilis natto. It's a natto bacteria for fermented food, but this skin breathes. Now you see each flap, you see millions of the bacteria living and working as a relative humidity sensor and actuator to control the flap. So when you run dance, then get sweat, automatically ventilation happens. No Arduino, no battery, no power cord, no technical trouble. It's completely closed. So this is one new message, bio become a new interface. As I mentioned, we really care about the exhibition, how to communicate to the peoples, rest of the earth. This is a biological filament, textile, moving based on the steam. It's a real time. It shows how this bacteria working as a sensor. This is a bacteria from nature, which we cultivated. But together, using a design and the digital fabrication, you can make a precision printing, deposition of the liquid that contains the bacteria to the exact location. This is a mannequin. It's nice, but not really compelling. Most compelling thing is the human beings in motion. So we collaborated with the Boston Ballet dancers. Then they wore this garment, they danced. But they feel that the back opens based on the movement. They get very excited. Even they customize, change the way they dance. That's an interesting collaboration between bacteria and the human being. So transdisciplinary is something very important because bringing all the different people together, and that's happening in Linz, Austria, Ars Electronica, also many other places, Vienna, Salzburg, New York, Boston. But this is a very special, magical place because maybe art is an important core. So what art does do for us, art provides new perspective that turns our gaze to new horizons. As Kepler found amazing principle of the universe, I do believe art has a power. So I was headhunted by Nicolas Negroponte and Alan Kay in almost 25 years ago, 1994, in Atlanta. Alan Kay made a very important statement. The future is not to predict, but to invent. That's happening in Linz, Austria already. If it's a museum and a festival, you feel the new movement. Also, you can ask what would happen to Gerfried. So he's a prophet. He can tell you exactly what happens. But to continue this endeavor, we need three things. Vision. Envision the future, which you really want to see, or you really want to hand off to your descendants, kids, or grandchildren. And to do so, we need three things. Art. Art will always bring us to inquire something really new stuff. And also embody, we need to speak technology, of course, design and science. But in the end, to communicate, to make a lasting impact, we have to bring this expression to the level of the art. So having art as a core in a very serious way, like Ars Electronica, make a huge difference. And I'm so happy to be here. So I want to remind you, you have a jewel. Ars Electronica centers and a symposium in your country. So hopefully you can really maximize the value to disseminate this gene for innovation and creation, expression to the entire planet or entire galaxy. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Ishii. Und natürlich interessieren uns Ihre Fragen, die Sie jetzt stellen können. Questions from the audience. Andreas, where are you?
Hier. Es gibt jetzt zwei Varianten.
Well, there are two possibilities. One is you call up tourismustage.at on your smartphone and you type in your questions, which I can see and pass on to the speaker. Or you simply raise your hand and I come to you with a microphone.
Not so much Deutsch. Kenny will translate all the questions from the audience. So, any questions from the audience? Gibt es Fragen von Ihrer Seite? Ja, komme ich zu Ihnen. Grüß Gott, mein Name ist Andreas. Wer sind Sie bitte?
My name is Angelika Mittelmann. Thank you very much for your great presentation. I enjoyed it very much. And you talked about storytelling. And I'm an expert in knowledge management. And storytelling is one of of my favorite method to translate deep knowledge, or let's say tacit knowledge, between people. How would you say, how could your kind of tangible objects or tangible bits help to translate tacit knowledge between people?
I like archaeology, archaeological artifacts found from the ancient civilization, because these physical objects convey the history, culture, and the story. Pixel, you can copy and paste, but there's no authenticity. But a special object has a power, like a keepsake object, which you inherit from your grandma, is a one of the kind fountain pen. She grabbed and wrote letters, although she's gone. This is such a powerful sentimental value, same as my music bottles. Story is very important to putting an object information in a context, give a real important meaning. Then let's make people inspired. So I completely agree with you about the importance of storytelling and narrative.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Ich komme zu Ihnen.
Sie können auch auf Deutsch fragen,
ja.
wird übersetzt.
You can put your questions in German.
Grüß Gottchen. Jetzt wird spannend. Grüß Gott, schöne Schuhe. Grüß Gottchen.
My name is Desiree Ehlers. One question about these dancing materials. Yes. This looked like a small thing at the moment, but how big can you do these modules? The idea behind it, I got when I was looking at that in city designing, when I have staircases for people who can walk, but we need non-staircases for people who have wheelchairs and so on. Can these things be used in that context?
I appreciate your question. How to scale up to the building or city scale case, technically possible, but I don't have enough funding. So if any industry wants to support this work to make a massive stuff, I have a nice fountain pen and sponsorship contract. Anyway, the most important thing is showing this is possible. Once people know it's possible, a company or a government may put a lot of energy because now it's possible. So for us, our important role is something we show which people never thought it's possible. But once people know the feasibility and the value, now they can start thinking, oh, that makes sense. You can make a perfect bed, for example, measuring a posture or a pressure, also helping the patient who spends so many hours on bed, all the friction, but changing a posture, for example. So we can make a perfect bed to counterbalance the friction. But to do so, we need a much number of the pins. But we are happy to explore those future. If somebody thinks those bed or pillow or furniture would extremely help elderly people to sleep or sit comfortably. So please contact me.
Sehr, sehr spannend. Wir haben noch Zeit für eine Frage.
Eine Frage habe ich aus dem Chat. Und zwar tatsächlich, es betrifft dieses Beispiel mit dem Sandprototypen. Das Projekt ist ja super spannend. Eine touristische Frage. Ist es möglich, tatsächlich in der Region mit Radical Atoms einen Golfkurs zu planen und zu bauen?
Is it possible to design, for example, a golf course with that atomic design?
Of course. Technically, nothing prevents us from doing. And even when we did a sandscape, I want to turn entire dune in seashore like a sandscape. Then we have a satellite measuring all the geometries. If people change the shape or wind sculpt the sandscape in the seashore, it also have a different projections. It's a large scales. So I think there's no limit of dreaming about large-scale exciting applications. Only the limitations, time and the resource and safety and other stuff. But we are very excited hearing those questions from our audience.
Thank you very much for your exciting talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
One more thing? I think he has one more thing.
Also, I'd like to thank you guys to make our trip, visit to Austria, so enjoyable, so insightful, so stimulating, partially because Ars Electronica, but also all the Austria welcome us. I like a Wiener Schnitzel, Gulasch, and a bunch of the beer, also some Belgian beer. So please continue to welcome international audience to coming back every year. Thank you very much. Vielen Dank.
Thank you.